The Sahara stretched endlessly in every direction, an ocean of burning sand beneath a sky that looked close enough to touch. In the middle of that emptiness, a military jeep sat still, its engine dead, its metal frame shimmering under the merciless sun. Inside stood Ibrahim Traoré, leader of Burkina Faso, frowning at a GPS that had frozen hours ago. What was meant to be a quick shortcut on his way back from a regional security meeting had turned into a dangerous mistake. Their water was nearly gone, the heat was rising, and not a single sign of life existed around them. His driver and security officer were still examining the damaged radiator when Ibrahim stepped out of the vehicle, wiping sweat from his forehead. He regretted leaving his full security team behind. He regretted trusting a shortcut. And above all, he regretted entering one of the harshest regions in the Sahel without notifying command. Now no one knew where he was. Then, through the rippling waves of heat, something moved. At first it looked like a mirage, a wavering shadow dancing on the horizon. Ibrahim squinted. The figure became clearer. A solitary man, walking slowly with a wooden staff, wrapped in desert robes that flapped gently in the scorching wind. His security officer stiffened. "Sir, we can't trust this. It could be an ambush. This area is full of bandits." Ibrahim didn't respond. Something about the man's walk, his posture, scratched at forgotten memories, hidden deep in his mind. The stranger stepped closer, unhurried, as if the desert belonged to him. His face was lined by years of sun and struggle, but his eyes were sharp, alert, strangely familiar. Even before he spoke, Ibrahim felt a shiver crawl down his spine. When the man finally stopped, only 15 meters away, he lifted his chin and said in a calm, steady voice, "Ibrahim." No title, no bow, just his name, spoken with the authority of someone who had used it long before the world called him a president. Ibrahim froze. He knew that voice. "Who are you?" he demanded, though his heart already hammered with an impossible, terrifying answer. The old man's expression softened. "You know who I am, even if you wish you didn't." He stepped closer, and for the first time the sunlight fully revealed his features. Ibrahim's breath caught. It was a face he had seen only in fading childhood memories. A face he had been told belonged to a man who died decades ago during a rebellion. A face that haunted every unanswered question of his youth. "My name is Ibrahim Traoré," the old man said quietly. "I am your father." Ibrahim shook his head. "No, that's impossible. My father died when I was a child. Everyone knows that." The man sighed, as if carrying the weight of 30 years across his shoulders. "That is what you were meant to believe, for your safety, for the country's safety. But I have not been dead, Ibrahim, only hidden." Before Ibrahim could respond, a sudden blast of hot wind ripped across the sand. He turned. The sky to the west had darkened into a swirling yellow wall. A sandstorm, a massive one. The old man raised his staff toward a distant ridge. "My camp is that way. Strong shelter, water, supplies. If you stay here, the storm will bury this vehicle in minutes." The security officer stepped forward urgently. "Sir, we need to move now." The old man's eyes locked onto Ibrahim's. "You must choose, my son. There is no time left." Ibrahim hesitated only a heartbeat. Logic screaming one thing, his instincts whispering another. Finally, he spoke. "We go with him. Take only what you need. We move now." The old man didn't wait for a response. He turned toward the distant ridge, walking with a pace far quicker than his age suggested. Behind them, the horizon swallowed itself in a rising wall of sand, golden, angry, and closing fast. Ibrahim followed, every step heavy with doubt and unanswered questions. If this really was his father, where had he been all these years? How had he survived? And why appear today, in the middle of the Sahara, at the exact moment Ibrahim's convoy had broken down? It didn't feel like coincidence. It felt like fate. His security officer leaned closer as they trudged up the dune. "Sir, we should still assume this might be the setup." "Stay alert," Ibrahim replied quietly, eyes locked on the old man ahead. He wasn't naive. He had survived assassinations, political traps, and tribal manipulations. But something inside him whispered that the danger right now wasn't human. It was the monstrous storm devouring the sky behind them. The wind grew harsher, slashing their skin with fine blades of sand. Ibrahim was just beginning to fear they wouldn't make it when they reached the top of the rise. And there, hidden in the natural shadows of the rock formations, lay a small compound. Not a camp, a fortress carved by time. Solid stone structures were built directly into the landscape, blending with the desert itself. A natural rock barrier shielded the area, creating a pocket of eerily calm air even as the storm roared closer. The old man pushed aside a heavy woven cover and motioned them inside. The interior was shockingly cool. Stone floors covered with handmade rugs, low wooden shelves stacked with tools and books, a small fire burning in a central pit. Everything was simple but purposeful, the kind of place built by a man who had lived alone for many years. "Sit," the old man said. "The storm will not touch us here." Ibrahim's team exchanged uneasy glances. "Search everything," Ibrahim ordered quietly. They hurried out, grateful for the excuse to investigate. When they were gone, the old man turned back to Ibrahim with a sad smile. "You survived because you are cautious." "Good." He poured water into clay cups and handed one to Ibrahim. The leader of Burkina Faso stared at him. "Explain," he said, voice controlled but tight. "Explain how you stand in front of me when you died 30 years ago." The old man lowered himself onto a cushion. "During the uprising in 1989, chaos ruled the streets. Your mother was told I died, and she believed what everyone else believed. It was easier that way. For their control, they wanted me gone, but not martyred, so they erased me differently." "You vanished," Ibrahim muttered. "I was taken," the old man corrected softly, "exiled to the desert. Guards abandoned me here, thinking the Sahara itself would finish the task. But I lived. I built this place. And I stayed silent, because if I tried to reach you or your mother, they would have killed both of you." Ibrahim's jaw tightened. "My mother raised me alone. They called her the widow of a traitor. She fought to survive, and when she grew sick, where were you?" For the first time, the old man's voice cracked. "I was here," he whispered, hating myself, knowing that any move I made toward you would doom you. He reached into his robe and pulled out a small leather pouch. Inside were two things, a simple silver ring and a faded photograph of Ibrahim as a child held in his mother's arms. Ibrahim's expression froze. He hadn't seen that photograph since he was 7. Before he could speak, the security officer re-entered. "Sir," he said, voice steady but uneasy, "the compound is secure, 3 buildings. No weapons except tools. No other people. The storm is too strong. We can't leave until it passes." Outside, the desert screamed as the sandstorm finally struck, slamming against the stone walls like an angry beast. Inside, the air remained still, heavy with truth, grief, and the impossible reunion of a father and son divided by 3 decades of silence. Ibrahim watched his officer step out, then turned slowly back to the old man who claimed to be his father. His voice was steady, but the question carried decades of buried emotion. "Why now, after all this time? Why appear in my life today?" Amidu rested his cup on the floor and interlocked his fingers as if preparing for a confession. "Because I no longer have the luxury of waiting," he said softly. "Not for myself, and not for Burkina Faso. The future of the entire Sahel is at risk." Ibrahim stiffened. Duty temporarily overpowered personal turmoil. "Explain." The old man walked to a chest carved from desert wood. From inside, he took out a leather journal, thick, worn, filled to capacity. When he handed it to Ibrahim, it felt heavier than its weight. "For 3 decades, Amidu said, I lived among nomads, traders, rebels, and wanderers in Mali, Niger, Chad, and here I listened, observed, documented everything." Ibrahim flipped through the pages, each one packed with coded notes, maps, dates, and names. Some disturbingly familiar members of his administration, military officers, foreign agents, businessmen with global ties, all linked through a quiet network designed to destabilize any leader who resisted external control over the region's minerals and strategic routes. Ibrahim looked up sharply. "How could you possibly know details this precise?" A faint smile tugged at the old man's lips. A man who appears harmless becomes invisible. People speak freely around ghosts. He tapped the journal. Everything inside is verified, cross-checked, confirmed multiple times. Ibrahim scanned more pages, his military instincts kicking in. The level of detail was chilling. Meetings that were never publicly known, timelines that matched unexplained events during his presidency, patterns he had long suspected but could never prove. "You should have sent this years ago," he said, frustration tightening his voice. "Why wait until coincidence brought us together in the desert?" The old man's expression hardened instantly. "It was no coincidence, Ibrahim." That single sentence froze him. Amidou continued, voice low and grim. "Your choice to take the desert road, the sudden failure of your vehicle, the replacement driver." He paused. "All of it was engineered. You were meant to die here. A tragic desert accident. Clean, silent, unquestioned." Ibrahim's breath caught. Pieces fell into place with brutal clarity. He replayed the last 24 hours, the quick reassignment of his driver, the recommendation to take the shorter route, the unusual mechanical noise no one could trace. It wasn't random. It was a setup. "And you?" Ibrahim asked. "How did you know where to find me?" "Friends in unexpected places," Amidou answered. "When I learned of the plot, I arrived ahead of the ambush. I hoped to intercept you sooner, but fate had other plans." He stepped closer. "The attempt you survived was only the first. Those named in that journal will not stop." Ibrahim shut the journal firmly. His decision was immediate. "I'll verify every detail myself." Amidou nodded with quiet acceptance. "Good. Trust must be earned. I ask only that you look at the evidence with an open mind. Our nation's future may depend on it." The storm raged all night, trapping them in the stone shelter. Ibrahim barely slept, reviewing the journal under the dim firelight. When he did drift off, he sensed Amidou on the opposite side of the room, silent, watchful, perhaps trying to reclaim a role he had lost decades earlier. By dawn, the storm had dissolved into calm golden light. Fresh dunes shimmered under the rising sun. Amidou joined Ibrahim outside, stopping a few steps away, respectful, almost hesitant. "Your vehicle can be repaired with what I have," he said. "If you leave soon, you'll reach the airstrip before noon." Ibrahim nodded. "And you? Where will you go?" Amidou's eyes turned toward the endless desert, back to the work that still remained. Then he hesitated, truly hesitated for the first time. "There is one more thing you must know." Ibrahim turned, bracing himself. The old man's next words struck like a blow. "You have a sister," he whispered. "Your mother was carrying her when I disappeared. She was born 6 months after I vanished." The words hit Ibrahim like a strike to the chest. He stared at the old man, speechless, his mind refusing to accept what he'd just heard. His mother had carried such a secret, and he had never known. Amidou continued gently, as if handling something fragile. "Her name is Aminata. Your mother entrusted her to a family near the Mali border, a quiet village. Safe. She grew up there believing the man who raised her was simply a guardian chosen by your mother. She knows nothing about me, or about you." Ibrahim's voice, when it finally came, trembled between shock and anger. "Why are you telling me this now?" A shadow passed over Amidou's face. "Because she is in danger as well." That sentence snapped Ibrahim to full attention. "Danger? From whom?" "From the same forces trying to remove you," Amidou replied. "They know she exists, though they have not yet discovered her importance. To them, she is just an educated young woman improving water systems in northern villages. But if they realize she is your sister, they will use her against you." The protective instinct rose so fast in Ibrahim that it startled him. "Where is she now?" "In a village called Jibo," Amidou said. "I was on my way to warn her when I learned of the plot against you." He reached into his robe and produced a small, beautifully carved wooden box. Inside is proof, her birth records, letters from your mother, photographs, everything needed to confirm the truth. Ibrahim accepted the box with both hands. It felt heavier than it should, heavy with history, with revelations he was unprepared for, with the burden of a family reshaped in a single night. His voice dropped. "Why didn't my mother ever tell me?" Amidou exhaled slowly, eyes soft with regret. to protect both of you. If the two of you had grown up together, you would have become targets. Symbols the regime feared separated. You had a chance to survive. He looked toward the horizon, the rising sun reflecting in his tired eyes. Whether we made the right choices, only time will decide. Just then, Ibrahim's driver approached. "Sir, the vehicle is ready. We should depart." Time was slipping away. Ibrahim turned back to the man who had once been a myth, a ghost in his childhood nightmares and dreams. "You could come with us," Ibrahim said, surprising even himself. "With protection, with support, you could return safely." A warm, sad smile crossed Amidu's face. "My return would raise more questions than answers. You fight enough battles without explaining the reappearance of a dead revolutionary." Ibrahim tried one more question. "Then how will I contact you?" For a moment, Amidu hesitated. Then he placed a weathered hand on his son's shoulder. His first touch since Ibrahim was a boy. It carried a lifetime of longing and apology. "Leave a white stone on your mother's grave on the first day of each month. If it disappears by the next morning, come here on the following full moon, I will find you." Soon it was time to leave. Amidu stood at the entrance of the stone shelter, leaning on his staff. The desert wind tugged at his robe, making him look smaller, older, but strangely dignified. As Ibrahim climbed into the vehicle, the old man called out, "Ibrahim, I had no right to be proud of the boy you once were, but I am proud, deeply proud of the man you have become." The words followed him long after the compound disappeared behind the dunes. The ride toward the airstrip was quiet, the desert stretching endlessly around them. The journal and wooden box lay beside Ibrahim, physical proof of a life he had never known. Finally, his security officer spoke. "Sir, how should I report this?" Ibrahim thought for a long moment. "For now, report only that our vehicle broke down in the storm and a local guide sheltered us. Nothing more." The officer nodded. "And if they ask about the days we were missing?" Ibrahim gazed out at the horizon. 3 days. It felt like minutes. It felt like years. He remembered Amidu's words. It takes 3 days to truly know someone, one to see their face, one to see their mind, and one to glimpse their soul. Ibrahim spoke quietly. "If they ask, tell them I encountered something in the desert, something that changed my perspective." As the government plane came into view, Ibrahim made a decision, firm, immediate, and unavoidable. He would not return directly to the capital. Instead, he ordered a detour north, to Jibo, to the sister he never knew he had, to answers that would shape the destiny of his family and his country. The journey that began in the heart of a sandstorm was not ending. It was only beginning.